Nirvana review! Woohoo! Oh my god, what am I doing? Last Kata review, I kind of forgot the review part and just skipped to showing the gameplay with some generic ass lo-fi music. Yeah, let's just change that a bit, shall we? So in this review, I will be showcasing gameplay while giving actual commentary on how the weapon is and how it feels to use, and if it's good. So let's begin where you could use the Nirvana the most. The best use for Nirvana currently is in raids, due to the raid buffs for water weapons being busted. So imagine the damage you would do in one Nirvana build. Concentration activated, curse activated, 100 to 300 actually percent damage boost. Now imagine how much damage that would do. But which raids is it busted in exactly? For that, let's look at individual look at each and every raids, except not Nest of the Groove Slang, nobody does that. So the first choice that comes into mind is obviously the Canyon Colossus. So the choices you get in TCC which matter are Monk, Intrepid, Giant sometimes, and Pestilence. So Monk 1 will give you agility, so take that if you can, or take Pestilence, but do not take Intrepid 1, because Intrepid 1 will give you Guardian and you don't want to be a Guardian when you're Assassin, do you? So with either Monk 1 or Intrepid 1 taken, you will either have more agility or more damage. So after that comes the big choice. You could go Intrepid 2, which gives you 75% spell damage and gives you Savior Sacrifice, which is nice. Or you could go Monk 2, which gives you Mana Regen, while also giving you 100% water damage, which you can add up to 300% damage boost later on. And finally the big choice. Go Monk 3. Nobody fucking cares. Always go Monk 3. Because Monk 3 gives you 100% water damage, 100% spell damage. You're just gonna go Monk 3 because it makes you so strong in terms of damage that it alone gives you a reason to use Nirvana in raids. So for TCC, Nirvana is absolutely busted because Monk 3 gives you 200% damage boost. Intrepid 3 gives you Dexterity, which is 70% Dexterity, which is decent. Giant 3 gives you Mana Regen, and if you're using, let's say, Resurgence with your build, you will get an apeshit amount of Mana Regen and like health regen with Giant. So Nirvana is great for the Canyon Colossus. But now let's talk about the other raid, shall we? Which is the Nexus of Light, where Nirvana truly shines. And why is that? Well, because of one buff in particular called Ophanium. Now in the first choice, you see Ophanium 1, you're like, what is this? You're getting 50% water damage along with 50 agility. Now tell me if that's broken or not, because usually you will be playing EWF or TWF Nirvana. So when you get agility along with that, you become a tanky beast while getting water damage. So imagine how good Nirvana is in Nexus of Light. And now Ophanium 2, which gives you 350% HPR, that just combines with your Resurgence to make you have like 3000 or so HPR raw. Not effective HPR, just raw HPR 3000. Now that's busted if you ask me, while giving you water damage at the same time. So that's kinda busted, don't you think? And since you're also using a water weapon, Seraphim always goes well with it because of Mana Regen. Which kinda also brings us to the next topic, which is the gameplay of Nirvana, which is a big shining factor of Nirvana. Also, in the third stage, you shouldn't choose Ophanium though, because in the third stage of Nexus of Light, you should always go with Cherubium 3 due to the EHP buff, damage buff, and so many other buffs that Cherubium 3 gives you. Stage 1, you can sometimes go Seraphim 1 for sorcery mage ready, but for Nexus of Light, Nirvana is busted. Like, it's overpowered levels of busted. But let's talk about gameplay now. There are two ways you can play Nirvana. Mana Regen, Spellsteal Assassin, which somehow only works in Nirvana when it comes to Assassin due to his Transcendence Major ID. I'll get into why later and what's the playstyle like a bit later. And Spellsteal Assassin, which is better on weapons like Oblivion or Cataclysm. So use those if you really want to use Spellsteal. But it's still really good on Nirvana as well, like it's amazing. And now let's talk about the Mana Regen Assassin, shall we? See, unlike how many people portray it, when you play Mana Regen Assassin, you're not gonna be sitting duck waiting for your mana to be regenerated. Instead, you wanna make sure you never go to 0 mana. So how do you do that? With the help of Transcendence in Nirvana. So you see, if you cast spells really fast, you will never get like your mana regen tick in Vanish most of the time. Sometimes you're just unlucky, but usually you will never get your mana regen tick during having Vanish. So what you want to do is that you want to cast Vanish for the damage buff, but you don't want to stay in it too long. So the moment you cast it, you do another spell like Spin, which causes you to play in a breakneck fast playstyle, where you have to cast spells along with Vanish really fast so you don't miss the mana regen tick. This is really efficient if you have high click speed, and I would recommend you to play Nirvana if you're able to dodge enemy attacks well enough to not go into Vanish for regenerating health. That doesn't even matter since you have Resurgence, but usually if you're backing away from enemies or staying in Vanish, like just to say away from enemies, don't play Nirvana, because in Nirvana you have to go towards the enemies and kill them as soon as possible. Like it's breakneck fast, and that's fun. That's so much fun. It's of course less skill required, as you don't have to do spell cycles like Spellsteal Assassin, but it is more rewarding at the same time for a higher click speed somehow. It's extremely fast, and I would 100% recommend playing it, because it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience. Now for Spellsteal Nirvana, I haven't played it much to comment on it too much, but I'm assuming it's more like pre-bug fix weathered, where your spells wouldn't cost mana if you were in Vanish, but a bit less broken. But it's still really good. Like, I would still recommend it, although if you really wanna go Spellsteal Assassin, Cataclysm, Oblivion would be your best choices due to their high damage, while Inferno and Nelly would be tankier choices, and Weather would be your funny roving assassin playstyle. You said Grim Trap? What's Grim Trap? Who cares about Grim Trap? Alright. Now, what are the reasons you see sometimes on trade market that Nirvana is listed for really cheap and not expensive? Well, one of the big reasons it has to do is because of its base damage, which is lower than weapons like Cataclysm, Oblivion, or Grim Trap. But it's still decent, and you can cover for the damage loss by using Concentration Armor buff to your build, which increases your damage based on how much mana you waste, which is not the best in Nirvana, especially due to Transcendence, but it's still really good, and increases damage by like 30 to 50%. And then there's also the curse effect of water powdering your weapons, which is again really good for Nirvana because it's a water weapon. But sometimes the lower base damage or just damage in good builds may be a downside for playing Nirvana, but concentration makes up for it nonetheless, along with curse, especially raid buffs too, also why it's used by many top raiders. Alright, so let's sum up the video by telling the pros and cons of using Nirvana. Pros being amazing in raids due to raid buffs being amazing for water builds. Transcendence makes the game fun. Ability to play breakneck style of Transcendent Mana Regen Assassin, which is best for Nirvana only. Ability to use Concentration and Curse. Now for the cons, lower base damage when compared to other mythics. Sometimes getting a good non-crafted build can be hard, but with a crafted build like the one linked in the description, your life will be easy. Although decent non-crafted builds still exist, but crafted is just 10 times better than non-crafted builds from what I've seen. But if you use crafteds, thus you have to repair the crafteds. So should you buy and play Nirvana? Yes, it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience where you get to play in breakneck paced Mana Regen Transcendent Assassin with the major ID. And due to how cheap it is when the video is released, it's 100% worth to have this as a weapon to have as your goal for your first mythic. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this. Feel free to recommend more weapons to review in the comment section, and I hope you guys have a nice day. I'll see you in the next video.